So, it looks like Sony might drop some news about the PlayStation 5 Pro really soon, like potentially September 9th soon. Now, about the console itself, expect two models, just like the original PS5. There's going to be a digital version for $600 and a disc version for $700 USD. That's a $100 bump from the current non-Pro models. So, if you've got one of those external disc drives lying around, you can slap it on the new PS5 Pro and use it right away. Here's a bit of a letdown. Despite earlier rumors, the PS5 Pro won't come with a 2TB SSD. It's sticking with whatever the base PS5 has. And while the design of the console looks a lot like those renders we've seen, which some people say resembles an Adidas logo, there's no word on any new games launching with it. Instead, we can probably expect existing games to get updates to take advantage of the Pro's power, aiming for that sweet 4K at 60 FPS. But oh man, if Sony is really ditching the 2TB, that would really suck. I think they are working really hard to keep the price down. So is this all just hot air? Maybe. But you know how these leaks can sometimes turn out to be true. What do you think? We'll get back to the Pro later. I got some pleasant surprise for you Sony ponies later in the video. Warhammer Space Marine 2 has arrived. Let's talk about it. If you're looking for deep, meaningful conversations or philosophical musings, you're in the wrong place. Here, it's all about gore and over-the-top Shakespearean dialogue, like raise the armor of your contempt. It's a world where every conversation seems to revolve around how much blood and violence there is. Despite its grim setting, the game visually pops. It brings the vibrant, bold designs of Warhammer's painted miniatures to life. When it comes to gameplay, Space Marine 2 might remind you of Gears of War, with its brutal melee combat and intense action. But it's not a cover-based shooter. Instead, it's all about getting up close and personal with a variety of weapons. You'll slice and dice enemies with chainswords and power swords, parrying attacks, and executing bigger foes to regain armor. It's a satisfying loop where you're rewarded for diving into the action rather than hanging back. The game runs on Saber Interactive's Swarm engine, which means you'll be facing hordes of enemies that can be overwhelming but visually impressive. On PS5, the performance mode generally holds up well, but there are occasional frame rate dips in the heat of battle. You won't have many issues, but one of my co-op partners could run into frame rate problems, so keep that in mind. The single-player experience can be a bit of a grind, especially on higher difficulties. Your companion's behavior can be frustrating. They're more focused on fighting their own battles rather than helping you with objectives. It's definitely more enjoyable in 3-player co-op, although story progress only saves for the host. For those who can't commit to a full co-op campaign, there's Operations mode with customizable Marines and challenging PvE missions. There's potential for this mode to become a major part of the game in the future. So, if you're into hack-and-slash action with a Warhammer twist and don't mind a bit of chaos, Space Marine 2 might just be your jam. If you're not into the Warhammer universe, it still offers some solid, if not over-the-top, action-packed fun. What do you think? Is this something you'd dive into? Astro shines not just in its inventive gameplay, but also in its loving nods to PlayStation's rich history. Many familiar characters make charming cameo appearances, with a few stepping into fully fledged supporting roles. Kratos, for instance, appears in a thrilling level where you wield his ice-infused Leviathan axe, bringing a unique twist to the gameplay. These moments, which let Astro play with the powers of iconic characters in levels inspired by their stories, are some of the game's most magical experiences. While there could have been a few more of these highlights, they are a standout feature. From the very first frame, Astro showcases Team Asobi's deep affection for Sony's gaming legacy. The game starts with you selecting a save file from original PlayStation memory cards, and then explores a whimsical adventure set on a PS5-shaped mothership. The plot is light, involving a crash-landed mothership on a desert planet, and Astro's quest to recover its parts and crewmates. While the story isn't the focus, Astrobot charms through its playful, nostalgic elements. The game avoids the usual PlayStation themes of intense drama and instead focuses on Astro's joyful journey. Encounters with ghosts of PlayStation past and a hub world filled with customization options and collectibles enhance the experience. The return of the gacha machine mechanic and the hub's quirky memorabilia make the journey feel rewarding and tangible. We also got 3 new PS Plus games this weekend, including, if Hogwarts Legacy's lack of a Quidditch mode left you wanting more, check out Quidditch Champions. For a more realistic sports experience, dive into MLB The Show 24. For a retro gaming fix, don't miss Time Splitters 2, now part of August's PS Plus Premium Editions. But what about PS Plus Extra lineup? Over on Reddit, PS Plus Extra subscribers are all in a tizzy, betting that Atomic Heart is on its way. This game missed out on the Essentials list, but with its recent exit from Games with Gold, a PS Plus inclusion seems like a no-brainer. And then there's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, a game that's bombed harder than a bad movie sequel. With Rocksteady laying off staff, it's clear the game didn't hit the mark. Sony could use PS Plus to boost its player base of that almost dying game. The big question is whether Sony will throw a blockbuster into the mix. Will we finally see God of War Ragnarok make its grand entrance on PS Plus Extra? What about other heavy hitters like The Last of Us Part 1 or Gran Turismo 7? The predictions are all over the place. What would you like to see in this month Extra lineup? Alright, let's talk a bit more about the Pro. Let's set realistic expectations. So, earlier this year, there were some pretty juicy leaks about the PS5 Pro's hardware. Apparently, the new console is set to make a big leap with its GPU. It's switching to AMD's RDNA 3 architecture, which means more power and some cool ray tracing features pulled from next year's RDNA 4 GPUs. In terms of performance, it's supposed to be on par with a mid-range RDNA 3 GPU. Now, at Kepler L2, who's got a decent track record with leaks, says that the PS5 Pro's GPU will be comparable to an AMD Radeon RX 7700 XT when it comes to rasterization. That's basically how well it can render images and run games at high resolutions. This 7700 XT can handle most games at 4K 60 FPS, though not always. So the PS5 Pro should be able to push some impressive graphics, but it's not exactly a gaming powerhouse just yet. People are saying the Pro might get held back by its Zen 2 CPU. This CPU hasn't changed much from the original PS5, so it could be a bottleneck for the new console. But if you ask me, I believe in the Sony sorcery, and I have a feeling they figured it out. I just hope third-party devs figure it out too. That's where PlayStation Super Resolution comes in, which I'm tired of talking about already. I just wanted to bring this up to keep everyone's expectations realistic. You know, I always doubted RDNA 4 tech, and as we get closer to release, then they said RDNA 3.5. But it seems that the closer we get to release, the more my prediction that it's just gonna be RDNA 3 is becoming a bit more realistic. So we'll have to wait until September 9th to see if these specs hold up. What's your take? Do you think the PS5 Pro's hardware will make a big difference, or are you cautious about these improvements? So, a lot of people have been asking me in the comments about Bloodborne Remastered. Well, I did some digging and I found something. Earlier this month, the relaunch of the PlayStation Stars program revealed an intriguing listing, a PS5 version of Bloodborne's The Old Hunters DLC. While this listing seems to have been an error, it has ignited speculation about a potential remaster of Bloodborne for modern hardware and PC. This speculation aligns with Sony's broader strategy of expanding its game library to PC and the anticipated unveiling of the PS5 Pro. Moreover, there's been renewed interest in Bloodborne due to the reprinting of both the original Bloodborne and the Old Hunters Collector's Edition guides into a single volume, titled The Bloodborne Complete Edition Guide. This new edition, set for release on September 30th, 2024, follows the 2024 Tokyo Game Show, hinting at possible announcements or re-releases. Regardless of the Bloodborne rumors, the PS5 Pro is highly anticipated and expected to come with its own launch title to showcase its capabilities. The PS4 Pro's launch was closely tied to 2018's God of War, suggesting that Sony might use a Bloodborne remaster as a strategic asset for the PS5 Pro's debut. Given Bloodborne's upcoming 10th anniversary and its continued popularity, a remaster could serve as a compelling incentive for PS5 owners to upgrade to the Pro model. Fans have long wanted Bloodborne to be updated to run in 4K at 60 FPS, making a remaster for the PS5 Pro and PC a plausible and desirable move for Sony. The best part about all this is the other games that are coming with PS5 Pro. I talk about it in this video. Click it.